Perfect. So I'm just going to share my screen if you give me 2 seconds. That will come up in a second. So, good evening, everyone. And I hope that you are all doing well. We are talking all things Easter this week. Whether you guys are here live or whether you're watching back, when you're trying to actively lose weight and stay on track and stay making progress, Easter can feel a bit overwhelming. We had a big talk in December about Christmas because Christmas is the same. It's sometimes overwhelming to think about how am I going to stay on track? Sorry, I think someone just asked me a question. Just give me 2 seconds. Yeah, how am I going to stay on track, but also not feel like I'm missing out on events and feel like I'm missing out on stuff? That can be kind of overwhelming and hard to think about. So, what we're going to focus on today is going through a bit of a game plan and a strategy on how to stick to things, how to not feel like you're completely coming away from the process, but also on the flip side, not feel like you are missing out on things. You're not missing out on big events and events with your family and your loved ones. You can get a bit of a balance of both. So that's what we're going to be talking about today more than anything. So the first thing that I want to make really clear about this talk is that this isn't about restriction. This call is about organization instead. This is not a call to say you guys have got to completely sacrifice your entire Easter weekend. You can't have any fun. You can't have any Easter chocolate or anything like that. It's actually the opposite. It's about how to get both. And this call, I'm hoping you guys are not going to come away from this call feeling like, oh my God, I have to completely sacrifice everything and kind of give up my entire life. The call is very much the opposite of that. So the first thing that we need to kind of talk about is the reality of the weekend. Like, let's be really honest. Easter is about more food, more chocolate than ever before, more social events, and less routine. It just is. But that's not inherently a bad thing. And the reason that you guys are here and the reason that you guys aren't just here, for like a couple of months, you guys are here with us for a long time is because we're teaching you how to navigate these events and how to not let that event or the idea of Easter weekend freak you out. The goal is not to avoid it. Like I said, the goal is not to suddenly feel like you have to stay inside your house and not have any fun and not do anything just because you want to stay on track. The goal is actually about organization. And the goal is about learning just how to navigate it properly when you are actively trying to lose weight or even gain weight or change your body composition, whatever your goal might be right now. What you also just need to remember is that Easter is only a couple of days. Christmas is a longer period of time than Easter is. Really, Easter is a long weekend. It's the Friday to Monday. I know a lot of you guys have got the kids over Easter holidays and stuff like that. So you might have some more things planned compared to others. But actual Easter itself and the celebrations is 3 days, really. So when you think of it like that, 3 days or 4 days out of, your entire journey on this program, it's actually a very, very small amount of time compared to the time that you guys are in this program for. 3 days of not being in your normal, usual routine isn't actually the end of the world when you think about it. So this is kind of a step by step on how to enjoy your Easter weekend, but not lose momentum and not feel like you're losing momentum either. So the first thing that we need to do, and this is what I always say to any of you guys, whether we're talking about Easter or if we're talking about a meal out or a weekend away or a holiday, Christmas, whatever it might be, you need to set your intention for this period of time, first of all, before the weekend starts. This is why we're talking about this now, not talking about it next week, because you've got plenty of time to plan ahead. Before the weekend starts, I want you to decide what is the most important for you in that moment. You have two options. Option one is, I would like to stay on track and I want to continue my fat loss progress and I want to continue losing fat next week, no matter what. Your other option is, I would like to prioritize a bit more enjoyment, food wise, over Easter and aim for maintenance instead. Both of these options are absolutely fine. But what isn't fine and what I would advise against is saying one thing, but then doing another. So saying, oh, yeah, actually, I want to stay on track, but then not following through on that commitment you've made to yourself and not doing the stuff that you need to do, or the other way around, actually saying, no, no, I'm going to make sure that I enjoy and relax and rest this weekend, but actually spending the whole weekend completely stressed out and worried that you're not making progress. You have got to set the intention, and getting that clarity ahead of time removes guilt, it removes anxiety, and it removes stress. We talk a lot about, sometimes feeling anxious in this process, feeling anxious about things. In a lot of times, and I mean general anxiety, obviously not anxiety as a mental health condition. Obviously, I'm talking about a different kind of anxiety, but general anxiety about something is always overcome by action. It comes from committing to taking action, following through on the action. It always removes anxiety from situations. So if you set your intention ahead of time, you are going to remove a lot of guilt for yourself. Whichever one you choose, you just need to be okay with the outcome and you need to commit to it. I'll share what I'm going to be doing personally. So I've got some new goals that I've set for this week, really. I've got started with because I'm starting to think about my wedding, mine and Adam's wedding, and my hen do as well. I know Adam's thinking about his stag as well. So for me personally, I've set some new goals, and my goals at the moment are a little bit more physique based. So for me personally, I've set the intention that even though this is important to me and my goal of losing weight is important to me, living my life is also important to me as well. And I'll be going home and spending time with my mum. And as you guys know, like my family have been through quite a lot the last few weeks. I really want to have a lovely day spending lovely time with my mum. So I've committed that Easter Sunday, I'm not going to really worry about fat loss. I'm instead going to keep some things in place so that I still feel like I'm locked into this process and I'm not completely off the wagon. But I'm just going to focus on maintaining. And I am 100% having some Easter chocolate. I just am. I have a huge sweet tooth. I absolutely love chocolate. I'm not going to be spending an Easter ever, I think, where I'm not having some chocolate. So that's what I'm personally going to do. But I've set that intention. I have said I'm going to prioritize enjoyment and aim for maintaining on that Sunday. I'm going to have a bit more extra food than normal. I'm going to have some chocolate. I am not going to punish myself the next day, and I'm not going to be irritated or stressed out on that day. I've set that intention, I've made that really clear, and I'm going to focus on just being present and being my family as much as I can, which I'm really looking forward to. So that's what I'm personally doing. You might be different. You might be in a zone where you're like, I'm not that fussed about Easter. I don't have big plans. I'm just going to carry on and crack on. And that is also fine, but you just need to commit to what you're going to do. Once you've done that, you then move on to step two, and you need to plan your calories. And the best way to do that is to do calorie banking. For those of you that are new in this process, I'm going to talk you through calorie banking because it's a really good tool that you can use, not just for Easter, but any kind of meals out or things that you know about in advance. So if fat loss is the goal for you on that weekend and you're 100% committed to that, what you can do before Easter weekend is save some calories earlier in the week. And I would recommend doing this like, this Sunday to next Thursday or Monday to Friday, depending on when you start celebrating Easter. This is an example. So let's say that right now you're in a calorie deficit. Your daily goal is 1900 calories. Rather than thinking of just 1900 on each individual day, instead, if you times that by 7, because there's 7 days in the week, you would have 13,300 calories total for the week. What you can then do is try to focus on hitting that weekly calorie goal that week instead of trying to get it perfectly at 1900 throughout the day. So what you can then do is calorie bank. So you can eat slightly lower calories, either 17 or 1800 calories, Monday to Friday, for example. You should only really cut 200 calories below your calorie goal. So for someone that's at 1900, I would never recommend ever dipping below 1700 ever because we don't want you to be really hungry or setting yourself up for maybe like binging later on in the week. But you can do that. If you did that for 5 days, you would bank anywhere from 500 to 1,000 calories extra for Easter weekend, which is really good to think about because then it creates room for higher calorie days on Easter weekend. Fat loss is about the weekly average and not one day. Your metabolism in your body doesn't just magically reset at midnight. What it is instead, it's about balancing your calories out for the week. So this process and this abundant mindset with your calories allows more flexibility for celebrations like Easter weekend. There's a couple of key things to remember for calorie banking. Like I said, don't dip too low. I wouldn't dip anywhere more than 200 below your calorie deficit. I just wouldn't because I'd still want to make sure I'm eating a lot. Try to keep your protein and your fiber really high on those days, especially just so that you're not feeling too hungry. Also, do not use this all the time. What's a slippery slope is if we start to think, oh, well, I'll just calorie bank all week, every week, and have more calories on the weekends. You can absolutely use it as a really great and useful tool for when you have meals out, weekend plans, special occasions. But if you do it all the time, it can lead you into doing a bit of a binge and restrict cycle with your eating, which we obviously really don't want. So use it occasionally. Easter weekend is a good time to use it. And just use it as an occasional tool. This is a really good, simple, effective way for you to think, I've got a bigger meal coming up on Easter Sunday, for example. I'm going to stack some calories up and save it. And then you can eat that higher calorie meal and not be stressed, not feel anxious, and not feel guilty. And that is what the key is. So that's number one. If you're thinking, actually, locking in on my fat loss progress right now is key to me, and I want to make sure that I lose weight. That's step number one. Step number two, sorry. Step number three, plan ahead, don't wing it. A lot of people think that just because you're trying to lose weight or improve your body composition, whatever it might be, suddenly you can't go out to places. Suddenly you can't do meals out. You can. Can you go out for meals in a restaurant every single day or every single weekend? No, there has to be an element of restriction. And I'd be lying to you if I said that that would get you a result. But you definitely can still go on the occasional meals out a couple of times a month for sure and make incredible progress. For restaurant meals specifically, this is about. If you're going out somewhere on Easter weekend and you know about it in advance, you need to ask where you're going to be eating, have a look at the menu and see what options there are and what would a good food choice look like. So if fat loss is the goal and you know you want to stick to things, I would pick from the menu ahead of time. If the calorie information is on the menu, I would select my choice and pre-track it and then plan the rest of my week around it. Do a bit of calorie banking, like we mentioned. If it doesn't have the calorie information on there, I would get ChatGPT to do me a rough guess. It's not going to be bang on accurate, but ChatGPT and AI tools are getting pretty good. They're pretty accurate and they're not bad for a good guess. So I would use ChatGPT if I was like, oh my God, there's no calorie information. I don't know what that is. I would then stick to a rule of two when I was going out into a restaurant. So I wouldn't say I'm having a starter, a main, a dessert, and I'm going to have some alcohol as well. I would pick two of those. So I would either go for a starter and a main and a dessert. If it was me, I probably would go main and dessert because I just love dessert. Or I'd go main and have a couple of alcoholic drinks. I would stick to the rule of two, pre-track all of that ahead of time. And if I do that and do a little bit of calorie banking, I will still enjoy my meal out and I will still stay in my calorie deficit. Winging it will cause anxiety and it will likely cause overeating. However, doing a bit of planning ahead of time gives you control. This isn't restrictive. This isn't encouraging an unhealthy relationship with food. I think it actually encourages the opposite. Planning ahead and doing a little bit of thinking in ahead of time gives you so much freedom and so much control when you are going out for meals. And that's what it's going to be all about for Easter weekend if fat loss is the main goal for you. If you do that, you will feel in control. You won't feel like you're missing out on things. You won't feel alienated at the meal, tucking into like a tiny little salad when everyone else is having something else, because you have been willing to do that ahead of time. What you guys will learn as you go through this process when it comes to fat loss is half the game is the willingness to plan ahead and be a bit organized. That's the way that you are genuinely able to go out, have the occasional meal out, have a really good time, but not affect your progress. It takes a little bit of planning ahead of time. It's not a forever thing. It's not a forever thing. You're not going to be dieting forever when you're with us. And you're also not going to have to track all your food and do all this stuff forever. It's just that right now you're trying to lose weight and this is the thing that moves the needle. So that's step number three. Step number four, let's talk about managing chocolate and treats. Obviously, Easter is all about chocolate, and that's kind of the majority of what it's filled about. You don't need to avoid it. Instead, what you should do is, again, just set a boundary and set a guideline and stick to it. Rather than being like, oh, I'm going to get like 5 Easter eggs in, limit yourself to your absolute favorites and bring in 1 or 2 Easter eggs. But here's the thing, don't eat the entire Easter egg or eat everything in sight just because it's there. Really try to stay in tune with your hunger cues and think, actually, do I genuinely want to eat the whole Easter egg in one go, or am I just kind of eating it for the sake of it? Set times in the day where you are actually going to tuck into your Easter egg and actually going to enjoy it around with those around you. If it's on the side, you haven't really got a set plan of when you're going to have it, you are going to be very tempted to just pick and pick and pick and pick at it all day. And that's when the extra calories start to sneak in. Instead, just eat it and really enjoy it with intention. You're absolutely allowed to have chocolate. Just don't pick at it and don't eat it mindlessly. Have it with your family when your family are having theirs or your friends or whoever you're spending Easter with, and just really enjoy it with them and enjoy the intention rather than just mindlessly picking at it all day. You are allowed to have chocolate, but you're not required to eat the whole thing if you don't want it. If you're someone that's thinking, you know what, I'm going to loosen the reins a bit over Easter weekend because this process is important to me, but spending time with my kids or spending time with my partner is also really important to me. So I'm going to have a bit extra chocolate. I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm just going to accept the fact I probably won't lose weight that week. That is fine. But even so, you don't have to eat all of it if you are not genuinely hungry and you don't actually want to eat all of it. That is also okay. The next thing that's really good is pair it. Pair it with something and try not to snack on it alone. Try not to wake up in the morning and the first thing that you have is an Easter egg because that's when you're going to have a lot. Try and have a bit of chocolate maybe after a meal. you will then not be eating on an empty stomach. You'll feel satisfied from the meal that you've had, and you'll just naturally eat a bit less of it anyway, and you won't feel the need to binge on it. This will help reduce overeating and it will improve your fullness as well. But just remember that you are absolutely allowed to have chocolate on Easter weekend, even if you are trying to actively lose weight at the moment. What's really good to think about when it comes to Easter weekend, but also just generally, is if you are someone that loves to have sweet treats like chocolates or something like that, whatever your sweet treats and what your favorite things might be, you are better off having them in smaller amounts and a little bit more often in your diet because you are much less likely to binge. I'm doing a bit of a calorie deficit at the moment. I've had chocolate, I think, almost every day since. I just have small amounts, a little bit more little and often because I know me. I know that if I turn around and say to myself, I'm not having any chocolate, I am going to think about chocolate non-stop all day, every day. And when it gets to like day 5 of my calorie deficit, I'm going to be in the cupboard and I'm going to polish off like a whole bar of chocolate because that's just the way that I am and I love it. So when it comes to Easter, but also just generally, you are allowed to enjoy chocolate on the weekend, but having it in smaller amounts, not telling yourself you can't have it, means that you're going to be a lot less likely to binge and you're not going to feel so likely to just reach for the whole egg and eat it all in one go because you are coming at it from a more abundant mindset and you are not telling yourself no. That's really important. Number 5, home cooked meal strategy. Obviously, we went through talking about restaurant meals and kind of how to plan ahead for that. But I know that when it comes to home cooked meals, it's a bit of a different story. These are the hardest meals to track, particularly if you're not cooking the meal. Let's say you're going to a family's or a friend's house and you're having a meal there. They are the hardest meal to track, particularly when you're not cooking it yourself. That is okay. If you are someone that's really actively trying to stick to your fat loss goals and you don't want to come away from your progress, when it comes to eating home cooked meal, as much as you can, try and put some protein on your plate first of all, because protein is the most filling macronutrient and it's the best thing to prioritize with your meals first when you're trying to lose weight as much as you can. Pick a protein first. Then, if you can, next fill your plate with some veg or some fruit or some high volume foods. Then think about adding maybe a small amount of carbs and a small amount of fats to your plate after that. It's going to be a little bit lower calorie, but the important thing is that you're going to be filling up on stuff that actually makes you feel satisfied rather than picking something that's like really carb heavy, which isn't inherently bad, but it's not going to make you feel particularly satisfied after it. Just be mindful of your portions. Try not to have like an absolutely huge, massive plate of portions, but don't worry about getting it perfect. I would try and avoid going back for like multiple servings because that's when going back in for seconds is when that starts to really creep up calorie wise. If you're trying to lose weight, I would just probably avoid that and try and stick to one plate. But you don't need exact numbers here, and there isn't a need to track these. And also, if you're having a meal that someone has cooked for you, I'm not going to expect them to whip out MyFitnessPal for you and track it all. And I wouldn't expect you to log that either. Like you're just not going to know, and that's okay. But remember that one occasional meal that is not cooked by you, that is untracked, is not going to kill you and it's not going to undo your progress either. Again, like I said earlier, if you were doing this 4 times a week, then it would be an issue because it's like, right, we don't actually know day to day how many calories you're eating. But if it's the occasional meal every now and then, that really isn't going to affect your progress at all. We'll talk about will undo your progress in a minute, but that one meal is going to do barely anything. It's just about getting back straight to it and carrying on with that afterwards. The next thing, and a really good easy tip, is stay active during Easter weekend. If you normally go to the gym on the weekend and if your gym isn't closed, go in and get a session done. It's, an hour of your day. You can absolutely do that. You do not need to burn off your food. You don't need to punish yourself with exercise after having Easter chocolate or having a bigger meal at Easter than normal. It's also not how our bodies work. It's a misconception that if you eat, a 100-calorie biscuit, if you get on the treadmill and burn 100 calories, you've burnt off the biscuit. That's not actually how our bodies work, and that's not how fat loss works anyway. But regardless, even if that was the case, just because you have more calories, it doesn't mean that you suddenly need to punish yourself with exercise. But it is really good and a really lovely healthy habit to just keep moving. Get your steps in. Walks after meals are really good and really nice to do. Hopefully, we'll get good weather in the UK so that you guys can go for a nice walk. Or if you're going out for a meal on the weekend, just park slightly further from the restaurant and do a little walk in and a little walk out with whoever you're with. Stick to your planned workouts where possible. If you guys are parents and you're on Easter holidays and things are a bit mental and a bit manic that weekend, that's totally fine. But as much as you can, stick to getting some workouts in. Keep your daily movement high. Movement keeps you feeling in control, and movement keeps you feeling like, okay, well, my nutrition maybe wasn't perfect this weekend, but I've had a lovely time and I've absolutely nailed it with movement and steps. And that's a really good thing to keep yourself mentally locked in, even if nutrition isn't perfect. Next thing, and the kind of final step here, do not freak out about the scales. I know that that is easier said than done in a lot of cases, but these are the biggest reasons why the scales go up. And I feel like a lot of people still don't know this. And it's very important. And it's something that I didn't know until I became a coach as well. And I used to get so frustrated when I was trying to lose weight. Before I started venturing into the fitness industry, I'd be desperately trying to lose weight. I'd do everything right. I'd know I was in a calorie deficit. I'd jump on the scales and the scales would go up. And I would just want to literally throw my scales out the window and jump out with it, to be honest. But the scales are going to go up for these reasons. And these are the biggest reasons. They're not all of the reasons why. For women, or anyone who menstruates, your luteal phase or having your period that week when you start your period, you are going to be holding on to water, so you're going to weigh heavier no matter how on it you are. If you have a meal over Easter where you have extra carbs or extra salt than normal, or even if you just have a bit of a bigger portion one meal than normal, that is going to read heavier on the scales. If you have really poor sleep for whatever reason, that's going to mean that the scales are going to jump up. Alcohol, even if you are within your calories, because of the nature of alcohol, because it dehydrates you, you're going to have more water retention. The scale is going to read higher. Also, just weighing at different times of the day as well. If you're currently weighing at the moment, different times of the day, and then you're wondering why the scale is jumping up, that's also why. All of this has absolutely nothing to do with fat gain. All of it is just water retention, and our bodies do it all the time. And unfortunately, for us women, it happens even more than it does for guys because we have a menstrual cycle. All of this is water weight. So if you spend your Easter maybe being slightly over your calories, not much, but slightly over, but you still stay active. If you jump on the scales on Easter Monday or Tuesday and the scales have jumped right up, do not panic and do not freak out. It's going to be likely that the scales are going to read higher, but like I said, it would be absolutely physically impossible for you to gain fat overnight like that and jump up that much. It is just water weight and it's going to come back down. You guys have got to get comfortable with accepting the fact that no matter how on it you are, no matter how badly you want this, and no matter how much work you put in, there are going to be fluctuations on the scales, and it happens to all of us. And like I said, it happens to us women even more than it does guys. So you need to just learn to try and get comfortable with this as much as possible. We all experience it and it's all part of the journey. Even though sometimes you might feel like you're the only person in the world that's dealing with the scales going up and down, I can promise you not. I can promise you that every single person in this program alone goes through that. So if you do have a bit of alcohol on the weekend, you have a bit extra food, maybe your sleep's a bit different from the celebrations, the scales are probably going to read a bit higher, but just accept it, take it for what it is, and just keep sticking to the plan and don't let it cause you to throw in the towel. That's really important. And I want you guys to really remember that. For context as well, to gain 1 kilo of body fat, no, 1 pound, sorry, to gain 1 pound of body fat, which isn't very much anyway, you would have to eat about 3,500 calories over your maintenance calories. So not even your deficit calories, your maintenance calories, which is how many calories you eat in a day right now to stay the weight that you are. You'd have to eat 3,500 calories over that to gain 1 pound of body fat. I would pretty much be very confident in saying that you guys will not have eaten an extra 3,500 calories over Easter weekend. It would be pretty impossible, and it would have to be a big shift of eating that you guys had put in. And I highly doubt that any of you will have done that. So once you have that context and that awareness, it's just going to be water weight. So don't freak out next week if that does happen to you. It might not, but it might, and that's okay. Here is what not to do, following on from that. Please avoid these common mistakes. Thinking, I've had one meal off plan, I've ruined the whole thing, I'm just going to start again next week. That spiraling is very, very damaging for fat loss progress. If you have one meal off track, it really is not going to make a difference at all. So if you have one meal on track, it doesn't mean that you're going to completely undo your whole week. But what will do is if you have that mindset on saying, oh, I've ruined everything, that will then cause you to spiral and probably come completely out of your routine for the entire Easter weekend. And then maybe you will undo a bit of progress. That's the difference. It's not the one meal, it's not the one mistake. It's your mindset that you have around allowing yourself to make mistakes and allowing yourself to make failure, allowing yourself to fail, sorry. Please also avoid skipping meals to make up for it. You are allowed to have food. You are allowed to have Easter chocolate. You are allowed to enjoy time with your friends and your family, whatever you're getting up to. So if you have eaten slightly over, do not punish yourself. Punishment cardio and punishment workouts. Exercise is not a tool of punishment. Exercise is something that should make us feel good, and it is a thing of positivity and something that should be building us up, not breaking us down. So do not use extra cardio, extra workouts to punish yourself for eating more. And also do not let one big meal turn into 3 days or 4 days for Easter weekend completely off track. Do not let it cause you to spiral. Just stick to the plan. Try to focus on the data and remove the emotion as much as possible. One meal doesn't ruin your progress, but the reaction to it does. What will actually impact your progress in a positive way is really trying to focus on being resilient with your mindset. Straight after Easter, get straight back to the plan, either on Monday or Tuesday, whenever you guys finish celebrating. I know it's Easter Monday or Monday, so whenever you guys are kind of back to normal routine, get up, dust yourself off, and just get straight back to the plan. You will have made absolutely no harm in a couple of days, slightly off plan. You will get right back to making amazing progress. The all or nothing thinking or panicking or stressing is what is going to keep you stuck rather than the actual act of eating extra calories. And that's not the thing that's going to undo your progress. If things don't go to plan over Easter weekend, because you know how it goes sometimes, you are planned, you're ready to go, you're set with the best intentions, and then something else comes up. Someone might buy you an extra Easter egg that you didn't account for. You might have said, "Oh, I'm going to have maybe one or two Easter eggs." Someone buys you a third or something, or "Oh, we're not going to this restaurant anymore. We're going to this restaurant," and plans change last minute. It happens sometimes, and that's okay. You guys know that you do not have to be perfect to get results here. Things are going to go wrong, things are going to slip up. If that does happen, don't panic, don't overcorrect or punish yourself. Like I said, just return to normal eating at the next meal and just get back to things as soon as you can. The speed of recovery and your resilience and your willingness to get back in the saddle matters much more than perfection in this program. That being said, obviously do try to stick to your plan as much as possible. Don't lean on that as a crutch and go, well, I don't need to be perfect. I'll just blow off the whole weekend and I'll just do whatever I want. Try to stick to your plan and try to keep some good habits in place. But if things do slip up and things do go a bit wrong, oh well. No one's going to die. It's all going to be okay. So mindset is the most important part. To recap this, set your goal and what you want to focus on over Easter weekend, commit to it and be okay with that outcome. If you choose enjoyment, enjoy it properly without guilt, but do not be disappointed if the scales have not dropped next week. They will the week after. If you choose prioritizing fat loss no matter what, follow your plan with intention, but accept that you're going to have to make some sacrifices over Easter weekend. Maybe you can't have a whole Easter egg. Maybe you can't go out to a restaurant, kind of have whatever you want. Maybe you've got to do a bit of planning ahead of time. Both are wins, both are also fine. You just need to be really honest with yourself and go with what matters to you most of all and be okay with the outcome of that. This is what I'm personally going to be doing. So, like I said, I've got some goals that I've set. Adam and I have got our actual legal wedding ceremony at the end of May. My hen do is in June, and then obviously our main wedding is in August. So I'm starting to really think about being in my wedding dress, not feeling like I have to be my smallest self to be, worthy of wearing my dress or anything like that. I just want to feel really good. And for me, that's going to look like dropping to two or 3 kilos, hopefully, before I go to my hen do in June. So my preference and what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using Sunday, like I said, as my day to be with family. I will have an Easter egg that day, 100%. I will really enjoy it, and I think my mum's going to cook me a lovely meal, and probably Adam as well. I'm going to enjoy that, and I'm going to spend Sunday slightly off plan with food, but not going to stress about that. I'm not going to be drinking any alcohol. I'm not a big drinker anyway, so that's not really a difficult decision for me. You guys might be different. You might love to have a glass of wine or a drink on the weekend. That's absolutely fine. For me, I'm just not that fussed about it personally. But I will get in plenty of steps, lots of dog walking. I'm not really going to have any alcohol, and I'll try and focus on getting good sleep. I'm going to get a gym session in on Saturday regardless, just because I actually really I love waking up on Saturday and doing a gym session. So does Adam. We love doing that together. So I'm going to make sure that I commit to that and do that. Because of Sunday, I'm going to have more calories than normal. I'm going to eat an Easter egg probably. I'm going to anticipate a spike on the scales on Monday, but I'm not going to freak out. I'm just going to say, well, that's the choice I made and that's the plan I made. I'm going to carry on with where I left off on Monday, and I'm just not going to stress about it. I'm not going to let it get in my head. I'm going to go, yeah, I ate over my deficit on the weekend, definitely. But this week, I'll absolutely nail it. I don't have any plans. I will make sure that I will nail my food 7 days a week and the scales will drop right back down. Please don't spend Easter stressed. This is what I make really want to clear. Your weekend should not feel restrictive, stressful, or guilt driven, but you can enjoy your food, you can stay in control, and you can still make progress. It's all about setting that intention and just making a little bit of a game plan ahead of time. And if you follow these tips, it will work really well for you and it won't take you much time to plan ahead at all. Final message. Easter weekend, 3 or 4 days of the year, does not define your results. But what matters is your plan that you make for it, your consistency for the rest of April, because it's 3 or 4 days out of 30, and how quickly you return to the plan after Easter. That's what affects your progress, and that's what matters. So enjoy your weekend, stay intentional, and just remember that this is all part of real life. There is no time limit on this process. I think sometimes we feel like we don't have much time at all to achieve our goals and we've got to get it now, we've got to get it really quickly. And, it matters to us. So that's not a bad thing. But you have more time to achieve your results than you think. And you have time in this process. So a couple of days spent with loved ones, maybe having a few extra calories than normal, there's nothing to stress about there. Likewise, if you're feeling in a good place and you want to lock in and you're maybe not fussed about having an Easter egg this year and you want to really lock in, that's also great and that's also fine. Just go with what you want to do. That's everything for this week. I genuinely really hope this has been helpful for you guys because I know that when you start to think about times of the year where everything's centered around food and you are trying to build on your relationship with food and trying to lose weight, it can be really overwhelming. But I really genuinely hope that this is helpful for you guys. I want to hear from you guys. If you have extra questions and you want to know how to plan ahead, message us. You know where we are, me and Adam. Message us for further help if you think you need it. And if you guys are up for it, share what your kind of intentions and what your plans are going to be in your group chat. And let's see if we can keep each other accountable there. But it's been great to see you guys all live on the call. For anybody that's listening back as well, you can still do the same. Share it in the group and ask me questions. But I'm going to let you all go. Have an amazing evening, and I will catch up with you all very soon.